More than an hour's worth of body camera footage showing Stacy Wandra FaceTiming with detectives and directing to where Monkey's body was buried in his backyard.
It's like right under that mound area.
It's right under the mound, about where at compared to the trees?
A little like right to the right of the trees area.
Did you stay at Sarah and Stacy's house the night of Michael's abduction?
I don't know. I have to get back with you on that one too. Like I say, there's a lot of. That's a good question to go over, but I gotta look into that more.
There are families out there searching of loved ones lost. There's a lifetime of hurting, praying one day they'll find the missing.
If you've been here for a while at the Murder She Said, you might remember this unsolved case we've discussed in the past. The disappearance of 5-year-old Michael-Vaughan back in 2021. It was a story that left his family, friends, and neighbors all unsettled, confused, and desperate for answers. Well, now we have an affidavit, and what's inside is far more disturbing than anyone expected. 2 people have already been charged, and investigators see 2 more are likely to be charged. According to this affidavit, Michael wasn't just taken. He was allegedly kidnapped with the intention of being sold, trafficked to a monster for only $10,000. It is rumored that the then married suspects, the Wandras, brought in another suspect named Adrian to live with them so they can learn more about human trafficking. Before we descend into this new chilling information, welcome back to the Murder She Said, my true crime nerds. My name is Holly, and this is a place where breaking cases, rarely told cases, and cases everyone else just wants to avoid on YouTube, well, you're going to hear it here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can hear this Southern girl or find this Southern girl in this big YouTube world, because a girl can get lost in here and I often do. So let's get right on into this story. It was a warm, average summer night, July 27, 2021 in Fruitland, Idaho. A town where kids still rode bikes, neighbors waved from their porches, and nothing truly dark was supposed to happen. 5-year-old Michael Joseph Vaughan, or Monkey to the people who loved him, was outside playing in the front yard. At 6:15 p.m., his father, Tyler, stepped inside for just a moment, just long enough to change Michael's baby sister's diaper and order a pizza. He told Michael to stay in the yard. Instead, Michael, who was only 5, wandered to visit some neighbors, and each one told him they were busy and just to head back home. Michael's father began searching around 6:45 p.m. when the familiar sounds of his little boy playing in the front yard suddenly fell silent. First, he walked the places Michael usually wandered, small routes every parent knows by heart. Those places you know your child always goes. Those are the places he looked. So at 7:21 p.m., he knew something was wrong, so he dialed 911. Within minutes, police, neighbors, and volunteers flooded the neighborhood, calling Michael's name. Flashlights sliced through the yard, bushes, and side streets as the search widened. Nothing. On August 2nd, search dogs were brought in and given one of Michael's tiny shoes. The dogs were taken to nearly 300 homes in the area, but only reacted strongly at one. A small, unremarkable home belonging to Stacy and Sarah Wandra. The trained dog ran straight for the Wandras' front door. Neighbors had their own disturbing memories. One recalled seeing Michael riding a pink big wheel tricycle on the day he vanished. Another said they had seen a pink big wheel sitting inside the Wandras' garage earlier that spring, months before Michael had even disappeared. It raises a chilling question. Was that tricycle used as bait to lure that little boy in? Later that same day, the search dogs followed Michael's scent again, this time leading officers to the edge of a steep bluff thick with thorn bushes. Buried in the brush was a stroller, shoved just out of sight. Then came August the 5th. The pink tricycle resurfaced, this time in that very same location as the stroller. A neighbor named Jim admitted he had found it there right after Michael disappeared. He hadn't realized its importance. He simply wanted one of its wheels for a project he was building. After removing it, he quietly returned the tricycle days later, placing it exactly where he'd found it. Forensic testing would later reveal DNA on that tricycle, and the DNA actually belonged to Sarah's mother. Sarah's mother claimed to find the tricycle in the bushes before Michael's disappearance, and she attempted to untangle it from the bushes but failed. According to her, when she was interviewed, this is what she said. But if this was true, then why was it seen in the Wonders' garage by a neighbor if it was just put back by her? Sarah's mother also claimed that the reason there were strange holes dug in the Wonders' backyard was because their dog likes to dig. Weirdly, she also told authorities that the dog had dug up an ear of a green stuffed animal and she had just threw it away. Sarah's mom has been known to cover for Sarah on past criminal investigations by withholding evidence and information. So basically, she was not reliable to even be interviewed. So they didn't exactly trust what she had told them. Police sifted through hours of surveillance footage from the neighborhood, cameras on homes, at intersection at the nearby splash pad. Not one of them captured Michael that day. It was like the little boy had disappeared into thin air. Someone else did appear. At 3:23 p.m., the cameras at the neighborhood splash pad just one street over from Michael's home recorded Stacy Wandra pulling up in his white Lexus. He stepped out of the driver's side, circled around the car, and tugged at the passenger door as though checking to see if that side was locked. Then around 6:08 p.m., another figure emerged on these video recordings. Brandon Shirtliff. He was walking near the same splash pad as, Stacy had drove through. And he drifted toward a wooded cut-through walking area toward the Wonders' house. Police would question him in 2022, asking what he was doing there, why he was walking like that. Brandon said he had been out looking for Michael, but the timestamp told a different story. He was seen walking before Michael had ever been reported missing. Brandon was living at the Wonders' home during the time of Michael's disappearance. The house, already a point of interest from the search dogs, now sat in the crosshairs of a growing list of unsettling coincidences. Brandon's mother said he completely changed after moving in with the Wonders. He became really depressed, and he would only play video games and smoke some wacky weed. I don't know if YouTube's going to let me get away with that word. Let's just hope they do. Officers spent days interviewing neighbors, knocking at every door, gathering every detail they could about little Michael. One of the first doors they knocked on belonged to the Wonders. It was August 1st, the day before the police canines were brought to the neighborhood. When officers entered the house, they found more people inside than was suspected to live there. Stacy and Sarah Wonder was there. So was Brandon. But another man, Adrian Lucien, was also seen. But the weird thing about it on him, he was hiding inside a closet at the Wonders' house. Now that don't look fishy or anything. You have no reason to hide if you're not guilty, right? Officers later learned Adrian also lived in the home with the other 3 people there. When they asked for his basic information, a phone number, a social security number, Adrian refused. And this just added yet another shadow to a house already steeped in mystery. Investigators later examined cell phone data for all 4 individuals. According to that data, each person had been in the same general area as Michael on the day he vanished. But when questioned, the Wonders insisted they had slept until noon, and then they said they spent the day towing a vehicle. They claimed they hadn't been anywhere near where Michael was last seen, that they were out of town, towing this vehicle somewhere. Between the moments Michael's father realized his son was missing around 6:45 p.m. and the frantic 911 call at 7:21 p.m., the neighborhood grew tense and strangely quiet. But in the middle of that uneasy silence, the Wander residents stirred. At 7:08 p.m., surveillance cameras caught a maroon GMC pickup pulling away from the area. Inside were Stacy and Sarah Wandra along with Brandon. According to the investigators, their cell phone data placed them right there, affirming they were in the neighborhood in the exact window when Michael vanished. They will return towing a vehicle a little after 11 that night. Although they said they had been gone all day, that wasn't true. They didn't leave that area until after Michael had disappeared. Adrian, the man found hiding in the closet, well, his phone location had been shut off during this time. Yet at 7:26 p.m., just minutes after the maroon GMC sped out of the area, he posted a selfie on social media. The photo was clearly taken inside the Wander's bathroom, the same home the dogs had shown intense interest in. So while Michael's father was running through yards and calling out for his young son, and while neighbors were beginning to gather, Adrian was in that house posing for a photo knowing that Michael was inside of a duffel bag, struggling for air. After this night, Sarah's behavior began to strangely change. Sarah began standing along the highway at a Love's gas station, holding signs that said, "Repent of your sins and the end of time is near." She'd never acted like this before. She'd never been real religious up to that point. And suddenly she became really, really religious. I mean, I would too probably if I just murdered a child. I'd want to be as close to God as I could, because you know what the Bible says about that? It's better for you to have a millstone tied around is at your foot and thrown into the sea than to hurt one of God's children. I probably didn't quote that exactly, but it's something like that. And I don't blame her for wanting to get close to God at that minute.
The reason why I trust in God so much is because I have so much to be saved from. For instance, I've committed robbery, I've lied, I've cheated, I've hurt people, I've cheated on them, I've been divorced and remarried. I mean, I've committed so much sin that I know I hung Jesus on the cross with my sin, which that makes me a murderer.
So her social media accounts on Facebook and TikTok became all about religion and appeared to drastically increase. Prior to Michael's disappearance, she had only posted 11 videos on TikTok in 3 years. After his disappearance, she posted 329 videos in 3 months. In one TikTok, she even mentions how she had broken all 10 commandments. You know, one of those is "Thou shalt not kill." Michael's missing person poster can be seen hanging on her fridge in the background as she discusses that it doesn't matter what sin she committed because God had forgiven her. It was as if the weight of something she couldn't say, something she didn't know how to carry, had driven her into a full-blown spiritual panic, and to deal with the guilt, she had turned to God.
I've done a lot of bad things that I've had to confess to God and to the person I wronged, you know.
Sarah and Stacy also sold their phones, their vehicles, and got rid of their furniture. And they're not guilty, you know. Don't look like guilt. When Sarah was interviewed by police again in November 2021, she said she sold the phone because she and Stacy were splitting up, even though she was still making payments on this phone. She said a demon told her to get rid of her phone and her husband. I would have got rid of definitely Stacy too. He was not a looker, but I don't know if God would have told me. I just told myself. Their GMC pickup was later repossessed, and when the repo company opened it up, they noticed something unsettling. The truck had been scrubbed spotless, far cleaner than any normal vehicle they repossessed. During her first interview weeks later, Sarah had said equally strange things. She insisted God had personally told her he would help her find the boy. Then she added with chilling calmness that God had forgiven Hitler, so he would forgive her too. Police would recover on August 8th a text from Sarah to Stacy, and it said, "I want to get out of this neighborhood and this house." Then another, "I liked it better when you agreed to no one else here ever, but you didn't want to listen to me about our sanctuary, so now we need a new one. I need a new castle." On August 12th, Brandon had been kicked out of their home. The group was fracturing, paranoia spreading between them like a sickness. On November 10th, 2022, after a year of sitting in jail, Stacy finally cracked. He told officers he wanted a deal. He was ready to talk. And here's where everything becomes even more disturbing. Sarah had already been released from jail prior to Stacy's confession, which I believe was a huge mistake because it gave Sarah plenty of time to move Michael's body out of their backyard. Stacy's confession paints only his version of the events, and I know he left out how deep his involvement went in this case. So I truly believe he is more involved than he is letting on. And he seems to be wanting to blame everybody else and doesn't want to take, any responsibility in what happened on himself. Which can you blame him? I would be lying out my butt too if I'd done something so evil. It supposedly all started when allegedly Adrian told the other 3 living in the home that if they kidnapped a child, that they would get a $10,000 cut out of the deal. What is that, like a little over $3,000 apiece when split between Brandon, Stacy, and Sarah? Just blows my mind how this little boy's life was ended over $3,000. Not to mention, it makes you wonder if Adrian had kidnapped children in the past. I'm going to go deeper into Adrian, or Lucifer as he likes to call himself, in just a few minutes. I mean, it gets much darker. But first, the last piece of Stacy's confession. Stacy admitted that the tricycle was in his garage, but it is not clear in the affidavit if it was used to kidnap Michael. It is referred to so much in the affidavit that I suppose it has some link to this case. Maybe they just hadn't figured it out yet. Stacy claimed the first time he saw Michael was when Sarah carried the little boy inside their home. She set Michael on their couch, and he was so scared that he started crying, so they attempted to give him a dog toy that was a lime green monkey. He continued to cry, so to prevent Michael from moving or making noise, Sarah duct taped this little boy. Brandon found a duffel bag so they could transport Michael out of the house and into the GMC pickup. Brandon handed Sarah the bag, and Sarah picked little Michael up and stuffed him into the bag while Adrian held the sides open. Michael was inside the bag in a fetal position but was wiggling desperately trying to escape from this bag. This is so sickening. I can't even imagine how scared that little boy was, especially when they zipped the bag. It was dark, claustrophobic, and hard to breathe. And he was brought into a home of people that had duct taped him. And I'm sure he had no idea what in the world was going on. He was innocent. He was 5 years old. Then they left with the duffel bag in the bed of the truck. Surveillance footage had caught Brandon in the backseat of the truck and the Wanderers in the front seat. And officers asked Stacy why their truck stopped on 8th Street. Stacy said for 2 reasons. 1, so Stacy could put power steering fluid in the truck, and 2, so they could check to see if little Michael was still alive. Michael could be heard inside the bag making dull screams. The plan was to drive to Brandon's mother's house because she was not at home and leave the duffel bag there with Michael inside. After arriving at his mother's home, Brandon got the bag out of the back, and none of them heard any noises coming from the bag at this point. Without checking to see if Michael was still alive, Brandon took the bag into his mother's spare bedroom and just left that little boy there. They then towed Brandon's vehicle back to their house and spent the night at the Wanderer's house. The next morning, they towed Brandon's vehicle back to his mother's home and grabbed the duffel bag. So like I said, Adrian didn't make this trip with Michael in the duffel bag. According to his phone location, he had stayed at the Wanderer's residence, and he was in there posing, trying to take sexy pictures of himself after they just kidnapped this little boy, and he helped stuff him into the bag. So after all of them had a good night's sleep at the Wanderer's residence, the next morning they towed Brandon's vehicle back to his mother's home and grabbed the duffel bag. Stacy claimed that he didn't go this time and Adrian went instead, so they switched spots. No noises could be heard inside the bag because Michael was dead. They brought the bag with Michael's body still inside back to the Wanderer's house. Stacy stated Brandon was on guard while Sarah and Adrian dug the hole. You notice in this whole story that Stacy, he said the only thing he did was drive the GMC to Brandon's mother's home. He claims to be pretty much completely innocent. He knows that the child was kidnapped, but he didn't do nothing.
I'm just here literally to tell my side of things. Because if there's one person that's going to tell the truth, it's me. I would literally probably, I won't say kill, but I would allegedly hurt somebody really bad if I ever found out they did something like that to a little boy and I knew about it. I would never hurt somebody. I can't even, it hurts me to get in a fight with somebody because I know my strength.
Were you involved in the disappearance of Michael Vaughn?
No.
Why do police think you were?
I have no idea.
Okay, cool. And guess what? It's 3.5 years. They quote unquote said they have such solid concrete evidence, right? Yeah. Solid concrete evidence that it's 3.5 years later and there's still no charges. You wonder why? Because they don't got anything, Brandy. Figure it out. Do them. No, they don't. Really?
Out, and I know
really?
You're lying, Stacey.
And you'll hear him during interviews say things that try to make other people seem more like the suspects. Like he was completely innocent of anything.
I would never have thought Sarah or Brendan or Adrian would. Maybe Adrian, but I wouldn't have thought Sarah or Brendan would have ever done something like this.
If it ever comes to it, would you testify against those involved?
I would tell my story the way I remember it and what I know happened. She's never been an honest person. She's been incredibly deceitful. she's not an upfront person. She tries to cover herself to make herself look good. When I got interrogated by the police, they told me that Adrian had a history of human trafficking.
Okay.
So if that is true, then I wouldn't put it past him.
He's not in that backyard. Is go to Cuna to Brandon's house and check in the backyard by the tree area.
So Stacy also claims during this interview that he didn't previously report the story because he was afraid of Sarah. Give me a break. Do you see how big this man is? No way was he afraid of Sarah. 2 days later, investigators showed up at the Wanderers' home and Sarah answered the door. They had a search warrant and cadaver dogs. Through a video chat, Stacy instructed investigators to where the body had been buried. Cadaver dogs did pick up Michael's scent in the area that Stacy instructed them that Michael was buried. In fact, 5 dogs alerted to that area. Inside of the residence, Sarah was making strange statements. She said the Most High God told her who killed that boy and it wasn't her. She said that God told her Stacy had killed Michael and buried him in another yard. She then says it wasn't Stacy who had hurt him, and she repeatedly asked if Michael's body had been found yet. Michael's body was not found, but it's believed that Sarah had plenty of time to relocate this body. Maybe Sarah's the only one that knows what this little boy is. In the Wonders yard, there appeared to be several areas in the yard that have been filled with dirt and resodded. And I believe it was Sarah's mother and her husband that helped resod the yard. I just think it's funny, weird how Sarah's mom always comes into this weird situations, always covering for all of her, awful things she does. Stacy and Sarah Wonder have just recently been charged with kidnapping and murder in the first degree. Brandon and Adrian are still at large, or as far as I know. I do believe charges could be coming soon for them. Adrian was arrested on October 3rd, 2025 in Indiana for unauthorized entry in a vehicle, and he was released on bond after promising the court he would return on October 20th for a court hearing. Imagine this. Adrian didn't show up for the hearing, and now a warrant is out for his arrest. I wouldn't either if I thought I could be charged with murder any second. I can't imagine letting somebody out like that on bond. Adrian, like I said, prefers to be referred to as Lucifer, and he has the number 666 tattooed on the side of his neck. It looks like he also has Satan. He has lots of tattoos. You can see in this picture, he has lots of tattoos. He likes to rap, and he has music videos on YouTube. He has tons of social media accounts, apparently listed not under his name. Some people have thought that these weird accounts were also Adrian's, and they have some odd things on them, and some of it seems pretty satanic. I guess he was sort of into the cult and that kind of thing, or still is, So I do know that much about him. The rest of the information about Adrian is pretty much hearsay, mostly from Stacy. Friends of Adrian says he comes off as a weird person. Adrian in the past has catfished men by pretending to be pretty women on social media. Adrian supposedly is all about scams and making money from these scams, according to some friends.
Adrian was a quote-unquote taxi ride. Adrian had called her and said that he was going through a hard time. He was staying in Caldwell behind some dumpster or whatever he claimed. And Sarah had asked me, so she goes, I wanted to talk to you about possibly helping out with the place to stay. And I told Sarah that it was not a good idea. I did not feel good about it in my gut. When he approached the question about, saying, hey, there's a way we can make money, he had asked Sarah. He didn't ask me. He had asked Sarah, and I was in the room. And he had asked and said, hey, would you be willing to help me if, create some fake profiles and we can make money off of people? I said, I'm not okay with that. And I told them that, and I told them my boundary. When your boy had gotten abducted, when the police department and the detectives had came and done, meeting with everybody, when the detectives got done, meeting with everybody within our household, I believe it was Juanita or Anita or whatever her name is, had came and told us, that you guys know that Adrian's a known human trafficker. And I was like, what? So whether he was doing it after, behind my back, and if Sarah knew something about it, then that's between them. I cannot speak on that.
So Adrian was allegedly strongly involved with human trafficking. Supposedly, Adrian moved into the Wonders home because Sarah wanted to learn how to get involved with human trafficking. something that she wanted to do. This is according to Stacy.
Do you ever talk about kidnapping?
Yes. That's one of the things that led to me saying, "C'est la vie."
So she wanted to kidnap a kid.
No. She just talked about kidnapping in general, never anything about children.
Wow. And what would she say?
Oh, well, she would talk about how it would be interesting to have someone to go into some stranger's house and basically take control of them, be able to tie them up. And I told her, I said, you need to seek professional help. That's not normal.
Stacy has done lots of interviews and has lied repeatedly. And so I don't know how accurate his affidavit is. You see how he's saying that most of it's not his fault. I mean, I suppose he could be lying about Adrian being involved in human trafficking to maybe make it look that Adrian was the whole reason that Michael was kidnapped.
Why would somebody hurt an innocent little boy? What answer could you give? What answer could you possibly give? How scared was he? Did he ask for me? Did he ask for Tyler?
I'm losing my patience. So please, give me back my son.
Do you love the murder she said? Do you love your subscribers? Do you love your mama? Do you love your daddy? Wait, do you love your daddy? You didn't answer that. What are you doing? You got sidetracked. You're trying to avoid this question. Do you love your daddy? Or you're avoiding this question because you don't want to answer it. I see that now. Pay attention. Do you love your daddy? He's playing dumb now. That's probably the best thing to do.
I prayed it's not you, hoping I never cross that bridge. There are families out there searching of loved ones lost. There's a lifetime of hurting.